Hey, this is Mr. Ring going over the Math 5, Chapter 8 Series and Sequences test taken on September 28, 2018. This is version C and D. Question number 1. Does this infinite, there's the key word, infinite geometric series diverge or converge? Explain. So, keyword, you should look on your formula sheet for infinite. You know it's infinite, and then you know that going from here to there, you have 1/2. You're multiplying by 1/2. Your ratio is 1/2. Your ratio is less than 1. That's what the inequality means, that your ratio is less than 1. Therefore, it converges, and it's finite. See, when you have a finite, that means it just has a number that you can get. You can have a sum. The answer is C. Question number 2. Which geometric series does not have a common ratio of -0.5. A common ratio means to multiply. Multiply by -1/2. So I took this problem here, and you'll recognize that I believe that, let's see, -5 to 2.5. I think what you're doing is you're dividing by -2. Divided by -2 is basically multiplying by -1/2. So if you just take in your calculator negative times -0.5, you'll get 2.5. 2.5 times -0.5 gives -1.25, and so on. Same thing here. 6 times -1/2 gives you -6/2, which is -3. -3/1 times -1/2 gives you +3/2, which is 1.5, so that works. Same thing here. You are multiplying by -1/2. But over here, yes, you can multiply by -1/2 to get -1/400. That would be wrong. That's what you should have had right on the second list. But here, you're multiplying by -2. So C is the one that does not have a common ratio of -1/2. It has a common ratio of -2, so that one's the correct answer. Number 3. In this question, it says the total number of boxes. So if you count up all of those boxes, you get 25. Here you get 16. Here you get 9. And the following pattern can be described as, the answer is neither, because you cannot subtract here to get 9. So you can subtract 9 and subtract 7. And then, so that would not be arithmetic. Geometric means you're multiplying by the same number there. And that doesn't work either, so the answer is neither. Write a numeric sequence, write a number, to represent each given pattern. So we've been doing this. So you have 6 blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blanks, and you only have 3 pictures. 1, 2, 3. So what do the other pictures look like? But if you recognize, you take the center column and you square it, you get 25. Center column, square it, you get 16. Center column 3 gives you 9, then 2 squared, 1 squared, 0 squared. So this is our pattern there. Circle 1. The pattern is, although you think that you can use negative numbers, right? You can't have a negative column, so the answer is in blue there, finite. Answer is finite. So let's think about this. If it's neither, that means you cannot use an arithmetic equation for sum. It's not geometric, so you cannot use a geometric sum equation. So how do you calculate the first sum of the first 9 terms? Well, you're going to have to use summation notation. Well, what are the 9 terms? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then here, this is where I took 2 different answers. If you decide to do negative numbers, so -1, -2, -3, then you would have 7, 8, and then 9. So you're going back up. And if you add up all of those numbers, you would have gotten 69. Now, if you said that you can't have a negative center column, and you just said, well, this is 0, 0, 0, and you added all of those up, you got 55. So full credit, one of those 2 answers. If you just have an equation of summation notation, it would have given you 3 points. But again, you can't use an arithmetic nor a geometric. Here on the can, fill in the blank, square, so that each row and each column contain all the digits 1 through 3. That should say 3. Numbers in each cage may repeat as long as they are not in the same row or column. So You'll get 4 points if it's correct, 1 point if it is incorrect. You're looking for freebies here. You only have to fill out the left side, and notice that there are no freebies. So I need two numbers that multiply to be 6, and I can only pick the numbers 1, 2, and 3. So you cannot pick 1 and 6, because that's not one of the numbers you can pick. So it has to be 2 and 3. Well, the order does matter. 2 or 3 and 2. And what you're looking for is you can't repeat in a row the numbers 1, 2, and 3, and you cannot repeat in a column numbers 1, 2, and 3. One student found out over the years that if you do a 3 by 3, one of the diagonals will be the same number, and the other one will be the numbers 1, 2, and 3. I wonder if that is true for all of them. So here, two numbers that multiply to be 2, that's 1 and 2. Two numbers that multiply to be 6, 2 and 3. And then three numbers, 1, 2, 3. This is a cage that multiply to be 3. Well, that's only numbers 1 and 3, so have here the opposite. Let's do the trick, is that these will be the same numbers. That side was out of 20 points. Let's look at some student work. Question number 1, the person wrote, the series below is conversion because the sum is less than 1. The ratio is less than 1, so it has a sum. That might be a better explanation, but nevertheless, I'm not looking at your work. But the work does kind of indicate if you understand it or not, so I gave him 2 points. A problem like this, 1B, I don't see any work of what's happening to each of the numbers, so I'm not sure how the student got D, and it is incorrect, but show your work. I think it gives you an idea of what's happening there. Can you figure out the ratio of each of those sequences? For the student, I can see at least they're multiplying. They recognize you're multiplying by negative 0.5. Just use your calculator. I see that. And the student realizes here that you are multiplying by other numbers, so they got that one correct. All right, the student here, neither's correct, has a list of numbers correct, infinite correct, and then here, look here, they got a summation formula, but here they have A for the arithmetic. And so I'm not quite sure what they thought they were supposed to do, so I gave them a 1 point there. Here they could have at least filled out the summation to show me like, well, first 9 terms goes on top, start at 1, and then this is your first number or something like that to get the 2 points. All right, I wanted to show the student work because the student got neither correct, but if it's neither, then you can't use an arithmetic formula for the summation. That's what the confusion presents. This is a big idea right here. So if it's not arithmetic, can't use that formula. I want to show you the student left the student blank, so I put a 0 and a slash through it, and if they just tried something, I would have given 1 point. At least it's something. So although it is neither, you can calculate the sum by just adding them. It's just a fancy word for adding. Can you add up those numbers there? Here on the back side, I don't have a scanned version of mine, but I do have student work. So let's look at student work. I have a list of sequence of numbers here, 3, 9, 27, 81. So that is geometric. What's happening? You are multiplying by a common ratio, which is multiplying, is positive 3. Now this student does have the correct formula. The sum, so the sum of the sequence of the first 15 terms, we know it's geometric, so geometric finite sum here, Sn or Gn equals G1 times r to the n minus 1. So G1 value is 3. And the n value is 15. This student chose wisely to pick the formula that just has G1 value in it. And here, I think they're trying to show me that's 3 to the 15th power minus 1. So it's 3 to the 14th power times 3 all over r minus 1. R is 3, so that would be just divided by 2. And then the sum of the 15th number is, it is a big number, comma right here, first 3 digits, and then 3. 21,523,359 is correct. 4 points, full credit. I want to show you what this student did. This student found the, still got full credit, got the same number as the previous student, but they chose to use the explicit geometric, which basically means they were trying to find the 15th number in the list, which you could have expanded if you wanted to. G1, which is your first number, 3. R value is 3. Now, the formula they got right is n minus 1 is an exponent. So small numbers up there. So 15 minus 1 is 14. And then really it's 3 times 3 to the 14th or 3 to the 15th power gives you 1,434,000, did I say that right? 14,348,907. So that is the 15th number on the list. Here they have a geometric finite sum. The last number on the list, which is that big number we just found, times the ratio, which is times 3 minus the first number on the list. Now, Order of operations still applies, so you're going to multiply those times 3 and then subtract 3, which they showed right here, which I really like. And then they divide their answer by 2 and got the same answer. Great job. A couple of things not going for this student. They wrote down the wrong formula. This is for arithmetic. We know the answer is geometric. And then they tried something which is totally fine, is if you try to keep adding or multiplying the numbers times 3, this should have been 243. I don't know what happened there. And then you have to add up all those numbers, but you'll notice that if you make one mistake, it's all off. I decided to give this student a 1 for that problem. All right, so the student just wrote down explicit geometric correct. I gave him 2 points for that. The rest of it's wrong. And here's where they went wrong. This is correct. There's my check. There's a check right here. I think what the student did is they thought this was 3 times 14. They got 42, and 42 times 3 gives them 126. So that's wrong because it's 3 to the 14th power. That basically means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. 14 threes there. Multiplied together times 3 gives you a really big number. And then over here, this one's also incorrect because this is a infinite geometric. So this is not infinite. I know that list keeps going on forever, but you'll recognize that you can find a sum. All right, this student here, I decided to give 2 points. I showed that this formula they chose to pick was wrong, but they did find the next number in the list. And something in is right. They are multiplying by 3/5, but hopefully they recognize that this is an infinite. 2 points out of 4. All right, I wanted to show you this one because it is a 4 points, correct? This person even listed all these things out. That's a great strategy. They recognize that this 3/5 is your ratio. How do you know it's the ratio? Well, it's a base, meaning it has parentheses and it has an exponent. If that was difficult for you to see, let's see if I can get it as close as I can. It says equals to the summation. This is the infinite sign. Sideways I equals 1. So how does that work? Put a 1 in here. 3/5 to the first power is 3/5. You put a 2 here, the second number in the list, it's 3/5 times 3/5, which is 9/25. And if you put the third number in the list, 3/5 to the third power means 3/5 times 3/5 times 3/5, which gives you 27/125. Well, here's another keyword, infinite. This student wrote down the correct formula. The sum of an infinite geometric series is G1 over 1 minus R because your ratio is less than 1. Your ratio that the student pointed to was 3/5. So in your formula, your G1 value is 3/5. And then 1 minus R, your ratio is 3/5. They recognize that 1 is equivalent to 5/5. And when you change this to an equivalent fraction, 5/5 minus 3/5 gives you 2/5. 3/5 sideways, divided by 2/5 is you take the reciprocal there, which is 5/2. So here they cross cancel, or 15/10 reduces to 3/2. The sum is 3/2. And you can't see it, but it says a 4. Good job. Oh, this one was so close right there. And then this wrong answer, 6/5. They multiplied it and then they have, I don't know, maybe they didn't see it rushed. I don't know what happened, but so close, give them a 3. Stomach virus spreads rapidly through a town. Initially, only 15 people were infected, but the virus spreads quickly, increasing the number of people infected by 9% every day. So how many new people are infected on the 11th day? So 1 day. That's the 11th day. Show all your work and explain the reasoning. So it starts off with 15 people. I love how the student wrote the first number in their geometric, G1 equals 15. And then here was a common mistake. Student was paying attention in class. I love it. I love it. 9% is 1.09. What does that mean? The common mistake was just to write 0.09. It says increasing. More people are getting this virus. So it has to be a number greater than 1. The reason why it's a greater number than 1 is because it's increasing. So this is really not 9%. It's really 109% if you think about it. Here's a formula. We're trying to find the 11th day. Correct explicit formula here. G1 is 15. Ratio is 1.09. The 11th day, N is your 11. 11 minus 1 is 10. 1.09 to the 10th power times 15 gives you approximately 35.59 people. Approximately 36 people have the virus on the 11th day. How many total people were infected on the 11th day? So here, if you think about it, this is just the 11th day. So we are adding up on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, all the way to the 11th day. So this is really a sum problem, but it doesn't tell you. And if you guys think about it, we actually did these exact problems in class. I just picked one or the other. So if I need to find the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, all the way up to the 11th day and add them all up, I'm going to use a finite geometric sum formula. The student wrote down the formula. Always write down your formula first. Gn times r, multiply those two first, then subtract g1 over r minus 1. The last term, which is the 11th day, we already have from above, 35.59, times, remember your ratio is not 0.09, it is 1.09. You'll need that key fact for your projects. Multiply those two numbers together, they got 38.70. Then you're subtracting 15, and then dividing it by 0.09. You subtract those, and then they divided and got 263.33. So approximately 264 people have gotten sick over the 11 days. So that side was, extra credit question. If you watch the corrections from Chapter P test, what are you doing this weekend? Well, whatever I want you to do, whatever it is, this should be fun, safe, and legal. If you got all three of those, you got 2 points. If you got one or two of those, then you got 1 point. If you told me like you went to your uncle's house, you had friends with you, caught up on sleep, or hanging out with your friends, all those might be fun, safe, and legal. I was looking for those 3 words. And then that side was out of 16, and then the front side was 20, so out of 36 points.
Love math. You don't love math? What's wrong with you?